And we are live. We are live everywhere on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. I think that's my max. I think that I've got it down for today. I'm excited to chat today about vulnerability and how it can be your superpower, because this is something that has absolutely changed the game for me in my life. Not only has it given me a different perspective or different opportunities that have come into my life because of it. Hey, how's it going, everybody on every platform? I'm taking questions for the next hour. I'm more than happy to be here with you and share with you some of the things that have really changed the game for me in my relationships, in how I build business on social media, so that I don't come across as a spammy Tammy and I show people that I actually care. I want to teach you that something that we usually feel shameful of, like we don't share a lot of the times our vulnerability, right? I know for many years, I hid the things that I was shameful of, the things that I was embarrassed of, the things that I wish I could have done better, but actually something that I grew from. Isn't it crazy how we are so very hard on ourselves? Hey, Brittany, I'm so happy you're on live too. Isn't it so crazy that we are so hard on ourselves and yet we don't have, we don't have any reason to be, because number one, none of us are perfect, not a single human being. And we are all going through life making mistakes. And we have to make those mistakes. It's actually part of life. Don't you wish, like when you were a little kid, I don't know how to turn that off. I wonder if I can turn my announcements off. Let me see. I'm going to find it. Hold on, because I don't want you to have to listen to this. See you later, Facebook, wherever you are. Watch, it's still going to be on. I still don't know how to turn it off. So here we go. So here's the deal. We're raised usually to believe right and wrong. See, I still don't know what's going on. Let's turn off these notifications. Oh, I know what it is. Now I get it. I understand. I just downloaded Messenger for the first time and I have it on my computer and I didn't understand what was going on, but now it's not. Okay. So we grow up usually. We grow up in our family and we're taught the difference between right and wrong, right? We're taught what's right, what's wrong. We learn our morals, our values, our decision-making skills, the things that become the foundation of who we are. They become the foundation of what's important to us. I want you to just take a second right now to think about the things in your life that set your soul on fire. If you don't know what your core beliefs are and what makes you tick, think of the thing that you would fight for. What would you fight for, right? It took me a few years to figure out that I would definitely fight for my personal freedom. So when we talk about, I talk a lot about business goals. And when I talk about business goals, often there's a financial amount that we're putting together and that's what we're shooting for. But I got to tell you, it's not about money. It's never about money. It's always about living a life where you have options and freedom, right? It's not about having all this money. It's about having a life where you get to choose what your day looks like. It's something that is, this is hilarious how different platforms are. I've got people on TikTok trying to tell me jokes. Yes, I do want a cheesy dad joke, Nathan, and I will tell everyone, so it better be good. And that's really kind, Serena. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. So we grow up in this environment where we feel that we have to be our best, right? That making mistakes are wrong, right? The difference between right and wrong. But really, you don't win or you lose. You win or you learn, right? You're not right or wrong. You're right, or you could be wrong, but you could learn something in that process. It doesn't have to be such a negative thing. And we've been raised in this environment where it is negative. And we feel so awkward about it because we don't feel good about sharing the things that got us to where we are, right? I was bullied really bad from grade 4 until I graduated. And it was really tough. I didn't feel like I could trust anybody. I didn't understand why people bullied me. I get it now. I kind of stand out. I'm pretty outspoken. Like I understand why I was bullied, because I was different. But I like being different. And at that point in time, I didn't have the confidence to say I like being different. So I felt like something was wrong with me. I didn't understand why people treated me differently or why I was a threat to them. I just didn't get it. And it was so frustrating to me because I knew that I didn't deserve it. I knew I had great intuition. I knew I was smart, but I was constantly coming up against ridicule and criticism, which made me have a lot of self-doubt. There are a lot of things that I didn't do until my 30s because I didn't have the confidence to do them. I didn't have the confidence that I would succeed. And now, after 20 years of personal development, I recognize that all of the tough stuff, everything that happened to me along the way, that was something that made me who I am. And all of those tough things that I had to go through happened so that I could support other people that are going through them. Right? And so I recognized that some of these lessons that I had learned, I wasn't my best self, right? I didn't operate at my full capacity. Do you want to know when you hurt yourself? I have a really great coach, Chanel Delgado, and I'm also listening to a really great book called Relentless right now. And what I learned about not being my best self and making mistakes is that usually it hurts me the most when I'm not aligning with my ethical code, when I'm not living by my values. Something that I very much value is loyalty. I value loyal friends. I value loyal family. I also value service. I feel better when I'm helping other people. And what I've learned is that when I can share lessons of pain and hurt, I can actually help a lot of people and heal myself in the process. But it takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up in front of people and admit that you were wrong, to own your mistakes. One of the things that I believe in is absolute ownership of your life. And again, none of us are perfect, right? So when you make mistakes, it's important to own them. It's important to apologize when necessary, but it's also important not to apologize when you have nothing to apologize for. As a Canadian, I feel that we say sorry a lot. It's a habit. It's something that we do, and it's really weird. But I think that when we take the time to actually think about why we feel sorry, sometimes I just feel sorry for other people, and I say sorry because I feel bad for them, not because they deserve an apology, right? And I don't want to have conflict. Obviously, nobody wants to have conflict. But what I learned in these moments of struggle is that even though I wasn't my best self, once I'd healed from that situation, I could share with other people. I could talk to them. I could tell them what I went through and how I felt and that they weren't alone, right? And I think that when we finally recognize that we're all human, there's a lot more room for grace. Giving grace to yourself for making mistakes. There were years, like years and years and years and years and years that I overanalyzed decisions that I made when I was a teenager, when like my brain wasn't even at full capacity. And I judged myself for making bad decisions that I made with a 14-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old brain. And I beat myself up for years and years and years, wondering why I wasn't better. Instead of using this very, very simple sentence that I learned that saved my life, which is now that I know better, I'll do better. And I highly recommend that you all adopt that sentence because you're going to mess up. And at some point, you're going to have to apologize. And at some point, if it wasn't that bad of a mess up, you're going to want to share it with people. Even if it was that bad of a mess up, even if it was something that, could have gotten you into a lot of trouble. We connect through experience. We connect through story. We connect through our values and our morals, and we connect with other people around the world by sharing stories, right? Think about if you're traveling, what do? You sit down and you start talking to people and asking them about their life because you want to know their life story. You want to know everything about them, right? If you guys have any questions as I'm going through this, I'm more than happy to answer. I'm on here for an hour today with you guys. Let's see. Hey, Joseph, you're watching me from the hospital. Well, I hope that you're feeling better. That's not good. What's wrong? Okay. So I want to tell you a couple of stories that were really, really painful, but also helped me recognize who I am. Okay. We've all been in a bad relationship or two, right? Usually before you find your partner, maybe you're still going through that phase of your life where you keep dating bad people, trying to find the right one, which, by the way, if that's the case, just write down a list of all the qualities that you want in another human and don't settle for anything less. And that's how you'll find your partner. Okay. So I used to work in the salon. And I absolutely loved working in the salon. I worked there for 5.5 years. It was awesome. But there was a lot of things that go on in the salon that are not kosher, And I remember many lessons in there that were learned. And the biggest one, before going into all this detail about all the stories that happened there, the biggest one was that I had to remove myself from situations that enabled me to be the worst qualities of myself. Because we all have a piece of ourselves, we all are innately who we are at our core. Now, you can mask that, you can educate it, you can bury it, you can overcome it, but you always have that certain spark. And what I recognized at a very young age is that I was always defensive and seeking approval. I was seeking other people's approval. And to that point, I wasn't great because I used to gossip about people a lot because I wanted people to see things my way. And I would call them in and be like, can you believe so-and-so? I can't believe they said that to me, right? Or I can't believe they did that. I didn't like that part of myself, but it came from a very insecure place. Now, I've had to learn this lesson multiple times in my life because it is something that I struggle with. But another core value of mine is integrity. And the reason that it hurts so much when I share these stories is because I wasn't acting with integrity when I tell you these stories. A lapse of judgment, self-limiting beliefs or triggers from past bullying and PTSD didn't make me the best version of myself. But as you go through life and you heal from these experiences, maybe you learn from other people, hey, Rita, I could use a margarita. Really could. Could use your company and a margarita. As you go through life and you start learning these lessons and you experience these parts of you that you recognize you're not operating in the best possible version of yourself, these parts can be healed. And when you heal them, you can teach from them, right? I've also made mistakes and I've taught from an open wound or taught. I taught from an open wound and I shared things when I was very vulnerable and emotional. Women do that. We do it because we do it to connect. We do it to network. That's just how we bond with each other. But it wasn't the best version of myself and I didn't come from a good place. So when I was in the salon, I found that not only would I get caught up in salon gossip, but I would get caught up in client gossip, right? As a hairstylist, you know all the dirty details of your clients. You're the person that they tell if they're cheating on their partner. You're the person that they tell that they're whatever, it's crazy. And so I realized then that I was really empathetic and I would take on people's struggles and I'd take on their stuff and I'd always feel terrible. I didn't have emotional intelligence. I didn't have an even Steven way of going through life. And by the way, I still struggle with that. I struggle with the highs and lows because I'm empathic. So I struggle with the highs and lows a lot. Hey, Heather, nice to see you. I'm going to see. Hold on. I think I've had a couple of questions. Let me see. Hello. Okay. So I struggle with that a lot. And I knew that I wasn't being the best version of myself. And there were things that triggered me at the salon. There were things that made me really angry. There were things that weren't fair. But because I didn't have emotional intelligence, because I hadn't taken the time to heal myself, I fought, right? I got real spicy. And I knew that that wasn't an aspect of my personality that I liked. So I decided that I was going to remove myself from that situation. I was going to leave the salon, and I ended up working from home. And I worked from home 4 days a week, and I made more money in 2 days a week at home than I made full time at the salon. And it was the best decision that I ever made. But it took me 5.5 years to make it. And I'm so grateful now. But leaving the salon was one of the hardest things I ever went through, right? I thought I was bullied bad from grade 4 to grade 12. By the way, I'll tell you that story another day, but it's crazy, when you look back on things and how you can heal through the process. But when I left the salon, it was like I died. Like, people just stopped calling me. Like, my friends who I worked with for 5 years stopped calling me. The owner of the salon went into psychological warfare and called every single one of my clients that I brought into that salon that I worked my ass off to get and stay loyal. She called every single one of them and offered them a free service at that salon. I cried. Oh man, did I cry? I cried. I was like, how could this be happening? I just left. Like, I am a small business. She has a salon with 50 staff members, and she's been in business for 20 years. Like, how is this happening to me? But I didn't realize it at the time. My influence was dangerous, right? The people that were going to follow me, they were going to lose a lot of money. So it took time to heal. And it took time for me to see that perspective. But now when everybody, or when anyone is treated that way, I'm like, hey, look, this is some perspective for you. This is what's happening. Hey, Kyle, I'm doing really good. Thank you very much. Thanks for hopping on. So you have to look at the big picture. You have to look at what life is going to look like on the other side when you heal and forgive those that have wronged you, right? Because I went on and I had a very, very successful salon business, and I absolutely loved it, but I changed careers again. See, I'm not somebody that really cares about what I do for a living as long as I'm helping other people. And if I can make a bigger impact, I will level up with every single job. That's actually part of the reason, I've been in online marketing for the last 5 years. I left that job at the salon. I ended up going to work for myself from home for 5 years. And then I closed the salon and ended up working full-time online as an online marketer because I wanted to be at home with my family. I didn't want to work evenings and miss out on singing my daughter to sleep at night or reading her stories or bath time. I didn't want to miss out on going camping or going to the beach or going to barbecues, family barbecues. I missed out on so many of those because I was working. Just wasn't willing to work for my vacations anymore. There's more to life than that, right? So I got into something different. Now, when I moved into this new career, I had a lot of clients that were upset when I decided to up-level my life and do something different. I didn't share that. I thought they were really mad at me and I felt embarrassed. And then I had my business partner who, while I was on mat leave, was unimpressed with the amount of business that I was drumming up for her. She doesn't have kids. She wasn't married at the time. She didn't get it, which is fine. And I realized at that point in time that it was time to end our partnership. But I cried over that. I cried. Oh man, I used to cry so much. I cried over that because I thought it was the end. I'd worked so hard towards something. But it's showing that vulnerability that you're willing to level up and you're willing to risk it all to do something great over something good. Right? Hey, Ellen! It's so nice to see you. Ellen and I have known each other, 15, 16 years. She was a hair client of mine, and now she works with me online on my online team. And I absolutely love her. I'm so happy that you're here tonight. Nice to see you live. So I share these stories with you because it's really important that you understand that it's never an easy road. I think people think that successful people have it easy. They think that they have these certain skill sets, or they have the luck of the draw, or they must know somebody, or maybe they come from connections. No, it's hard all the way for everyone because we all have our mixed bag of tricks from our past. We all have things that we're trying to get over. We all have things that we're trying to work through, right? So I went on to working online, okay? Which is so funny because I think about being bullied, and then I think about like how I was like bullied in high school, and then I think about how bullied I was, like cyber bullied by grown ass women, and I'm like, this is nuts. Like, this is next level. People just didn't grow up for the last 20 years and just continued to be high school bullies. It was actually kind of funny. But it wasn't at the time. At the time, I was heartbroken. So what happened was I worked for a company. I worked for a health and wellness company for 3.5 years. I was a top earner there. And top international earner, top earner in Canada. I loved what I did. But there were some things that were going on in that company. And one of my gifts that I've been able to do is always see 3 steps ahead. Always. And we've gone on intuition and hedged our bets, my husband and I, all our lives. And that's why we've ended up here. And that's another live for you. Maybe next week, we'll talk about hedging our bets next Wednesday night. But it was so interesting to me when I, went to corporate and asked them what was going on, how we could help, whatever. I was met with nothing. And I just thought red flag after red flag after red flag. Look, you fooled me once, shame on you. Fooled me twice, shame on me. And I made a really difficult decision to walk away from a multiple 6-figure income to start over. And when I did that, I pulled a piece out of the matrix. And a whole bunch of other people lost money because I didn't stay. And that's kind of the problem. Honestly, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. If you're watching right now, that's a massive problem with network marketing, because you need other people in certain compensation plans to be at certain ranks and certain places for your paycheck. And it's really taken the love out of helping people, because you feel pressure to hit your own goals and to push other people to hit goals that they maybe are not ready for. And that's part of the reason that I left the company, because I was collecting a great paycheck. I was collecting a 5-figure paycheck, but my team wasn't. And as the company started changing the comp plan, ingredients on the products, and making it more and more difficult for us to make money, I realized that I couldn't bring people into that business with integrity anymore, because I couldn't promise them the same thing that I had. It was rough. It was really rough walking away from a lot of money to start from zero. By the way, my husband wasn't working at the time because he'd had the last 4 years off. We had a small rental income coming in, but I was it. I had to hit the ground running. I had no choice. And what I've learned about myself is that I operate really well when I have no choice. When I have no safety net, it's go time. It is absolute go time. So we made the switch, and I did it ethically. I had a coach at the time. I asked every question. I wanted to make sure that I was on the right path. I had a lawyer. I wanted to make sure that I did everything with the utmost of integrity. I made a few personal phone calls. I had a team of 2,500 people, and I made a few personal phone calls, like under 12 personal phone calls, and talked to people personally that I had brought into that business, and told them that I was leaving and that I didn't expect them to come with me, but I had to go. I had to go for me. I had to go for my family. And I knew that I was making the right decision for where I wanted to be in life. One of the other things that happened at that company is that I wanted to do more. I wanted to be a coach, which is part of the reason why I have the 6-figure profit plan now. So I can help people break through 6 figures in their online business, whether they're network marketing, MLM, direct sales, online sales, whatever it is. I wanted to help people because this business that I started after I left that company, I brought to 6 figures within a year. And so I know how to do that. I know the systems in play. I know the mindset, the leadership that needs to happen. And I wanted to share that with other people so they didn't have to go through what I did and take as long as I did to break through. So I created a free group on Facebook called Life Transformed. And I created a program that would allow people to come in and be themselves. And I could teach them how to do what I did, because I wanted to help more. But that company didn't allow me to do those kind of things. They also didn't want me to have a coach outside of their company, which is starting to sound a lot more like an employee than an independent distributor, somebody that works for myself. So they told me that I was no longer welcome to speak on their stage because I had spoken on an event stage with my coach and other people in that industry. I broke a rule that I didn't even know existed. And I was penalized for it. And it just so happened that speaking is one of my main goals. It's one of my things that I really want to work on. And it's something that I have a lot of fun doing, which I know is not normal. So I no longer had the opportunity to speak on my company stage. or to be an influence there or to make an impact. And I knew that I'd outgrown the company. I knew it was time to go. But when I left, something really interesting happened. The people that I thought were friends of mine didn't support me. They actually did everything they could to tarnish my name, including saying that I was getting sued multiple times from the company, including setting me up by getting somebody I didn't know to message me and ask me about my new business, and then screenshotting that conversation and telling them that I was cross-recruiting, even though I had no idea that that person was with the company. This is the ugly side of network marketing that nobody talks about. And I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't be vulnerable about it until now, because I was so hurt by the people that lied, the people that said I got paid to go, the people that said I'd never make it, the people that said I must have been cheating the system and building behind the scenes 2 businesses because there's no way that I ever could have skyrocketed my business that fast. You know why I did? Because I had no other options. Because I busted my ass and I worked really hard to give people an opportunity that they didn't have before. And I believed in what I was doing so fiercely that I made it work. It was really sad. It was really sad. You know what was even worse? And this is what made me, this was the nail in the coffin for the company, not for me. What was worse is 2 days later, their chief networking officer, who everybody knew, hopped on a Zoom with all of my other upline leaders at that past company, who, by the way, never really helped me. Like, I had blocked my upline. I had always asked for help by one of the biggest leaders in the company. She'd never answer me. I go for weeks without an answer, without help. I would message corporate, go without help, right? No resources. And they did a Zoom and they trashed the company I went to. They lied and said the company was going under. They said all of these like brutal lies about what was going to happen there if anybody went. And I thought, how unprofessional. How unprofessional. From a massive multi-$100 million company to send corporate in and do a Zoom trashing another company. I was blown away. But then I realized a few months later, it's because I had influence. It wasn't because they didn't like me. It wasn't because I wasn't great there. It's because I had influence and they were scared. And people do crazy things when they're scared. Right? Now I own that. I'm not scared to say that. I don't think it's cocky. I don't think it's arrogant. I own it because I'm good at what I do. And that's something that took me a really long time to get over. They were really scared. Hey, Rebecca, nice to see you. I also had people personally threatening to sue me. Like, it was so crazy, you know, and I was heartbroken. You know, there was a few women in my community that I brought into this business, helping them build teams. Like, I would bring people in and place them and help them build teams and an income. And I was just so heartbroken that these women were being lied to and were gullible enough to turn on me. And that's why it hurt, because I thought everyone was as loyal as I was. And they weren't. And so I learned what people do when they're scared. I learned how people change. And I learned that that had nothing to do with me and who I am. But these are the deepest, darkest moments of my life. There were moments during those weeks that I didn't want to get out of bed. There are moments that I said to my husband, I just want to die. This is all too much. I didn't mean it. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and not be there anymore, because I felt so attacked for a decision that I made for myself and for my family, a decision that I knew was right. Now, here's the kicker. We're a year and a half later, and that chief networking officer disappeared. Apparently she retired, and the CEO is retiring, which I kind of saw coming down the pipeline. And I don't know what's going to happen to that company. And I hope that they thrive, because there's a lot of things there that were really, really great. You know, that company helped me change my life. That company showed me that I didn't have to work a 9-to-5 or subscribe to everybody else's way of living, that I could do what I wanted. And they showed me that I was capable of making more money in less time so that I could spend time with my family. They gave me belief. And that belief has grown and grown and grown and grown until I got here today. Thanks, Dina. I appreciate it. You know what? But I talk about it not because I don't feel bad. I talk about it because I want you to know that's going to happen to you if you're in this industry and you're in the online marketing industry. And sometimes when you leave, people treat you terribly. I say it because I want you to know that it's okay. You will come out on the other side. Nothing bad is going to happen to you when you act with integrity. You can have people say whatever they want. You can have people do whatever they want to do, but you should ask yourself, number one, is this a real threat? Number two, is it true? Actually, you should probably do that in the reverse order. Number one, is it true? Number two, is this a real threat? And a lot of the times, both answers are no. And then I resign my right to worry about it, right? Absolutely. It's having confidence. And Ellen, thank you so much. You are the sweetest. And I've learned to come into this leadership. I've learned to trust intuition, and I've learned to talk about the tough stuff. That's why I'm talking about it tonight, because it doesn't bother me anymore. You are bulletproof when things don't bother you anymore. At that point in time too, I had lost 6 months prior my Facebook page, and I was so sad about that. It was that, but it happened, I think, because people were reporting there's a lot of jealousy that happens. It's crazy. Women are crazy sometimes. And so I lost my original Facebook account, and most people would be like, oh my gosh, like, what did you do? How did you continue? Like, what happened? 5,000 friends. I don't even remember how many followers, and gone. All of my pictures from 2008, my family pictures, everything gone. And my best friend called me, and she was like, Christina, look, how many times do you have to learn that you have to play bigger? This is the universe telling you that it's time to play bigger. It's time to do more. I'm like sobbing. Like, how am I going to do this? Why is this happening to me? It's never happening to you. It is happening for you. Okay? It's never happening to you. It's happening for you. So my best friend said, Christina, you've always wanted to write a TED Talk, or you've always wanted to do a TED Talk. Time to do that. Within 3 months, I had booked a TED Talk. It's time to write a book. You've always wanted to write a book. A month later, someone was in my inbox asking me if I would write in their collaboration book. That collaboration book went to #1 bestseller in 5 different categories on Amazon. From the worst point in my life when I had to pivot, when I was so sad and so terrified, but I couldn't show it, I had to dig in. And it's so much more powerful talking about it now from a scar instead of from a wound, right? So sharing the things that you have overcome, sharing the struggles. I know sometimes I had a really hard time sharing my upbringing, because I never want my parents to feel bad about, certain things that I have, like self-limiting beliefs that I have from being raised, right? Our parents do the best they can with the knowledge they have at the time, just like we do the best that we can with our kids with the knowledge that we have at the time. And we evolve and we get better and we do more. If we share the things that we overcome, we have an opportunity to heal and help others. And it never changes. When I have difficulty sharing my past about growing up and some of the self-limiting beliefs I have, I don't hold any resentment or any negativity towards my parents. They did the best that they had in the generation after generation after generation after generation of beliefs, of moral code, of values, of all of those things. But the life that I had then is what shaped me now. It's what made me who I am. It's what made me want to be more, because I wanted to help other people. I wanted to help those people that didn't feel good enough. I wanted to help those people that lacked confidence. I wanted to help people that didn't feel like they had a voice or that they could speak up. Because you do. You have a voice, and it deserves to be heard. We all have a story that we can share and help other people with. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, which is kind of crazy, and I'm like watching all of your comments. They're amazing, by the way. Thank you so much for being here. I encourage you to shine a light on the things that you feel shameful of. And I'm going to tell you a really interesting story. So I met this guy, Ali. I saw him on a TikTok, actually, and he used to be in prison. He was in prison for 17 years. He was in prison for 17 years on an assault charge that most people get 2 years probation for. They don't go to jail, but he got 17 years. He shared the story with me. It was really interesting. It was a threat to his ex-girlfriend. They were fighting, and he is still blown away that he went to jail. He's pretty sure it was because he was Black, because he had met many other people that were white that had committed the same crime, if not worse. And he didn't touch his wife, not a thing. It was an uttered threat that he said in the heat of the moment that he wished he could have taken back, because it changed his entire life. Ali went to prison for 17 years. He got educated. He got into computer programming and into programming apps. I don't know if you know this, but like a lot of big names like Airbnb were all created by inmates. Isn't that crazy? They created those systems. It's borderline crazy. I was going to say illegal, like for them to be put in a place where they're not paid for their work. But he never complained about that. He worked really, really hard. And one day in prison, he said there was a special, or his parole officer said there's a really special guest coming in. And so he had no idea who that was, but he was getting ready to make a presentation about the program that he had just come up with. And in walked Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. And he was, nervous. He met him, and Mark said, "Thank you so much for the presentation." And Ali said, "Hey, I'm going to get out of here. Would you ever hire somebody that was incarcerated?" And Mark didn't say yes, or he didn't say no. What he said was apply. And so a few years later, Ali got out of prison, and he, and I hope that I'm not butchering this story, by the way, but he started applying. He'd gotten his education and like different certificates, and like really had made the most of his time there. And he was highly educated. So he was going for job interviews, like massive job interviews right out of prison, where his salary started at $200,000 a year. Like it was like blowing his mind. He's like, I can't believe this keeps happening. And so he would go in and he'd have an interview, and it would be very, very, very positive. They'd want to hire him. They were like, this is the best thing ever. Yes, we want to hire you. And then they're like, we'll call you back in a couple of days. He'd never get the call back. He never got the call back because they'd done a background check and they saw that he was incarcerated. And so this happened time and time again. He was so frustrated until one day he decided to tell the story on his terms. He decided to walk into that interview and say, "Hi, this is my past. This is where I was incarcerated. This is who I am now. And I really hope you give me a shot because I want to make this right." Not only was he offered the job, but he was offered a second job for more money. And now Ali also works for one of Mark Zuckerberg's biggest charities. And he didn't get the job because Mark gave it to him. He got the job because he was qualified for it. And one day Mark walked in and he said, "Hey, do you remember me?" And Mark said, I can't place you. He's like, "Yeah, we met in San Quentin." And Mark's like, "No way." Isn't that amazing? What an amazing story, because he decided to write his story. He decided that he was going to be the one to tell it. He was going to live life on his terms and take full and extreme ownership. Yes, my husband listens to Jocko Willink. I have allergies. Oh, this is brutal. I'm just going to do this right in front of you guys because I have allergies. No, I don't have a virus. I just have allergies. And so when he told me that story, I was like, you have to let me interview you. Like, this is amazing. And there is an interview, by the way. If you go on my YouTube page right now, you can watch. If you scroll down, you'll see an interview with him, and it's pretty incredible. But I want you to hear his story because you have to know that you tell your story, right? If you shine a light on your shame and you decide how you're going to tell it, you decide how you're going to show up, life all of a sudden becomes a lot different for you. There is a posture and a power behind telling your story the way you want it told. Regardless of the good, regardless of the bad, you tell it. Because when we don't have anything to hide, when we shine a light on our shame, that's where the power comes from. That's when everything shifts and changes, right? That's when real life happens. And you're able to overcome any of the challenges or self-limiting beliefs that you had when you absolutely own it, right? So what I found that's really interesting is the things that we feel most shameful for, the things that we are scared to be vulnerable about, are the things that we have done when we breached our ethics code, right? When I breached loyalty or integrity or impact or service, when I failed to show up, that hurts me, right? When I don't have personal freedom, it hurts me. And if I'm stuck working a job that I'm in debt and I'm working 9 to 5 and I can't pay my bills, or I'm dodging my landlord, which, by the way, I did that. There were times in my life where I totally dodged my landlord because I couldn't afford rent. I was going to school full time, like Tuesday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. full time. And I was working in the evenings from 6 until 2 a.m. and I was exhausted. I had no money. I couldn't pay rent. My school was expensive. Living in the city was expensive. And I literally put $2 worth of gas in my car to get to and from work. There were times that I ran out of gas on the side of the road, but I was too proud to ask anybody for help. But I made it work. I figured it out. I dodged my landlord for another week and I paid her. Oh God, but those are the moments that make you human. I'm not embarrassed. Are there decisions that I've made in my life that I wish I didn't? Absolutely. But if you bring it up, I'm going to tell you about them. I'm going to tell you how hard it was. I'm going to tell you what I learned. I'm like, oh shit, don't do that again, right? Be you and own it. My mom hates that I swear. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. She absolutely hates that I swear. But it's part of who I am. I feel like it's part of my vocabulary. And for so long, I didn't show up the way that I am. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. And that's what happens when you start doing personal development, when you start to have some self-love. That's exactly what happens. You change the way that you think and you change the way that you show up, and nobody can rock your foundation. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, okay? When I first got into online business and people would send me like this terrible message or like mean comments on my post, right? I'd be like, oh my God. And then like for 2 weeks, I'd be frozen and petrified in fear and I wouldn't do anything, right? Have you ever done that? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too scary. What if this person is weird and mean, right? Let them be weird and mean. It says way more about them. It says way more about how they show up in life than how you show up in life. But I used to let it take me out for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I wouldn't be the same activity level. I wouldn't do the same thing. I wouldn't be moving forward because I was hurt by somebody I didn't know saying something mean to me, right? How many people have gone through that? But as time went on, as I grew into somebody that loved myself, I didn't care, right? So sometimes the time compresses. Instead of 2 weeks, then for a little while, it took me about a week to get over it. Then it took me 3 days to get over it. Then it took me 2 days to get over it. Then it took me 24 hours. Then it took me 2 hours. Now the only thing that can rock me for a day or two max is somebody that I love. If there's a conflict between somebody that is with myself and somebody I love, that's the only thing that can rock me for a couple of days and make me feel off. But strangers, people that I work with, nobody can throw me off my game because I know who I am. And you do too. Deep down inside of you, you know exactly who you are. And nobody can take that from you. Nobody can take your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. Nobody can take those things from you. And so when you show up vulnerably, life will shift in a way that allows you to connect with people that are like you, people that are going through the same thing. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Going through the same thing that you are, going through the same thing that you did. And maybe you can help them get through it. Because now, after sharing that story with you about leaving that company and how horribly I was treated, I'm laughing about it now because it seems like such a blip in the past, and who cares, because anybody that was left back there is not thriving. I always think of the people that are going through that now. Like, there is some nasty stuff that happens online because people are keyboard warriors. They're behind a screen. And I think about how that impacted people, how it scared them. I didn't make a decision for 6 months because, number one, I was scared of hurting people that I loved. And number two, I was scared of the fallout because I saw how they treated other people for a good reason. Hey, Tanya, how's it going? But I know now that going through that gave me the life experience to help me coach other people through it when they need to make a transition, when they need to move on, when they need to start something new and their partner doesn't see eye to eye with them. It's okay. The only person that you are responsible for in your life is you. The only person. If you want to change things, if you want to transform your life, check out my Facebook group, Life Transform. There's lots of tips and tricks on how you can start seeing life differently and doing life differently to create a different outcome for you and your family. But you can start doing things differently. You can start showing up and not being as scared because, in all honesty, people aren't worrying about what you're doing. They're worrying about what they're doing. They're beating themselves up instead of judging you. And we all think people care way more than they do. So I encourage you, show up vulnerably. Show people who you are at your core. Teach them through the things that you had to grow strength through. Teach them through your mistakes. Help them along the way. Validate their feelings because you had them too. And you will connect with people on such a deeper level than surface conversation. I can promise you that. And you know what? Tasha says, I'm the worst for worrying what others think. Thank you for tuning in on TikTok, by the way. And so often we're in that place that we care because we need validation. We want to know that what we're doing is right. We want to know that we're being kind and doing good in the world. But what I've learned is it's just a perspective of your life and of somebody else's. Whenever somebody judges you, it has nothing to do with you. It is their perspective on steroids from their life experience. So when people treat you crappy and you're like, where the hell did this come from? Just give them grace and gratitude and say, I pray for you. I pray that things change in your life so you feel like you don't have to show up like this anymore. Because it sucks. Can't be happy, right? I just think life transforms absolutely when you stop giving a shit what anybody else thinks. And that's the truth. Okay. So, my friends, thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate you. And so Tanya just said she sees people doing referral posts and she's had people send her scripts and she just wants to wake people up because she's sick and tired of people messaging her that aren't genuine, right? They don't actually want to help. And so this is something that is so important when you are in online sales or online marketing, is that if you come off with, as my business partner in Upline, John Melton, says, if you come off with commission breath, which means that you are not getting to know people, you are not putting them first. By the way, your customers or the people that you're talking to online, they are smart. They are doing their research on you. They are looking you up. They are looking up the company and the products. People don't buy products. people don't just join companies. People join people, and people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Start showing up that way. Hey, Claire, nice to see you. Welcome to the team. So, I think I can sing, man. I feel like a woman. But I don't know if anyone else is going to want to hear that. Although I did go to school for music. I went to school for vocal jazz. And I used to sing a lot, to believe it or not. But when you show up like yourself, when you show up and actually truly want to help people, your conversation reflects that in their inbox. Your conversation, not every second message is a follow-up, right? Like, hey, ready to buy? Hey, ready to join? Stop doing that. Start showing up with your heart and helping people. There are 60 million people that have been displaced over the last year. Start showing up and asking them how you can help them make money from their phone, how you can help them pay their bills, how you can help them pay their mortgage. Start showing up and take your BS out of it, your ego out of it, and start asking people how you can help them, how you can make them healthier, how you can make them stronger, how you can help them overcome obstacles, right? Yes, I do know where Serbia is. Start showing up in a way that is different, and you will stand out in this massive sea of noise if you just share your heart and lead with your heart and show people that you care. The biggest mistake that you will make in sales is trying to close people too quickly, because you care more about the sale than you care about them. I've made that mistake. I've gone after it. I've worked on goals, really, really big goals that I had a quota to hit, and I've made that mistake. But I know how to not do it now. I know how to treat people right now, and it's just getting as many people into your funnel as possible so that you're talking to as many people at once. And guess what? All the leaves start to drop, and they all drop at different times, but at one point in time, they will all drop. And so you just honor where people are, meet them where they are, share your experience, and help them, right? Who's behind me? I don't have anybody behind me. I have my wall of pictures from traveling, right? I hope that hit home for you today. I hope that helps. I hope you have the courage to be brave. Courage over confidence, remember? But if you keep showing up courageously, you will connect and build relationships. Sometimes my relationships that I've built with people online, and by relationships, I don't mean like romantic relationships. I'm married. My husband and I have been together for 13 years, married for 9. It'll be 10 next year. But the relationships that I've built with people online, some of them are closer relationships than the humans that I have in my life in person. Because the beautiful thing about online is that when you show up authentically as yourself and share who you are, you immediately become a bright light for everyone else that is like you. You immediately show up differently. And you get to share the things that connect you. So start looking at life a little bit differently. It's not how many people you know. It's the richness of your relationships. It's how you help people. It's how you'll be remembered. The only person in this life that you have to impress is your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self. That's it. That's the only 2 people you have to impress is yourself. Everything else is on the sidelines. Not even your parents can tell you what your calling is, what you are here to do, what big, grandiose vision of your life. Not even your parents get to tell you that, right? That's up to you. And so how you show up will change the game. When you show up with vulnerability, you will connect with people in a bigger and better way. When you show up with courage, you inspire other people to be courageous. When you show up with your heart, you attract other people that want to help others, and you can make a bigger impact. I hope this hit home for some of you tonight. If you'd like to find me somewhere else or you want to have a conversation, please feel free to DM me. You are more than welcome to tag a friend that you feel needs this message. You can share it if you want. If you are wanting more information like this on how you can change your life, how you can do sales without being slimy, right? How you can actually truly help people from a heartfelt place. Hop on Facebook and join Life Transformed. It's my group over there where I train once a week and answer as many questions as I possibly can. And if you have any other questions and you are somebody that wants to build a big business and you want to hustle and help others, please reach out and send a message, because I know that there's so many people that are looking for another stream of income, one that they can do around their busy schedule, one that will not disrupt their life, one that will give them some more freedom. Please reach out. I have something really special for you. And if you're the right fit for me, we'll make magic. Absolutely. Okay. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much, everyone. Great to see you. Bye for now.